All right, we are live again on Monday night. Um, Changed up the prompt to something a little more simple, see if maybe we can get some engagement, get some discussions, maybe a little bit of debate on the God question. So if you happen to be scrolling through, double tap the screen for me, give me a share, a repost, share it to your story, all that kind of stuff. Keep me in the algorithm. If you use some of the other social medias and don't follow me yet, I'm at Cheddarson Official on YouTube and Twitch, and just at Cheddarson on Kick Rumble, and of course here on TikTok. So welcome in, everybody. Good to see y'all. Good to see everyone. Thank you for double tapping the screen. I appreciate it. That helps out with the algorithm tremendously. Lexi, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, we'll see if we can get some conversations going, maybe even some debates tonight. Hey, thank you for the heart me. I appreciate it. Yeah. I don't have major expectations for Monday night as much as I've been struggling in the algorithm lately, even on weekends, but we'll see what we can get going on. Oh, thank you for the roses. I appreciate it, Lexi. How have you been? I haven't seen you live for a little while. Oh my goodness, thank you. Wow, you gave me lots of gifts today. Thank you so much. Welcome in, everyone. If you happen to be scrolling through, my name is Chet. I do debates and discussions on the Bible and religion. Been doing good. Busy with college? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, what do you study again? Welcome in, guys. We're just getting the live started, so it's going to be a little bit slow right now. Again, I appreciate everyone double tapping the screen, sharing, reposting, posting a story, all that kind of stuff. Get me in the algorithm so we can have some debates and discussions. Abnormal and experimental psychiatry. I thought it was something kind of psychology related, but I couldn't remember exactly. That sounds really interesting. Are you doing graduate work now? I only ask because that sounds very specific and specialized for undergraduate, but that'd be cool if they did have an undergraduate degree in something like that. Ah, I see. Master's in psychology. Decided to move to psychiatry pre-med. Move. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Oh, cool. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome anyone who's scrolling through. Good to see you. Good to have you. If you're interested in conversations or debates, feel free to leave a comment or request up, have a conversation. Too many numbers in psychology. You mean in terms of like mathematical stuff? Yeah. Yeah, the maths kept me out of pretty much all of the hard sciences. It hurts your brain. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I always really enjoyed doing language related stuff more than I mean, I think science is so super interesting, but my talent was just for languages, so that's what I gravitated towards. I did really good in all the science courses that I took, though. I had to do like astronomy and biology and all of that, and most of my professors were surprised that I wasn't a science major. Oh, awesome! Uh, Tov me'od. Good to hear that you're taking classes and studying. I'm just amazing you can still do that while doing graduate work. I'm impressed. Mitsuyan, Yofi, Yofi, Yofi hachavara sheli. You have a Hebrew keyboard on your phone that you can type in. You can write. We can write back and forth in Hebrew. Foul part 3. I did used to be Christian. Yeah, I was raised in a Christian family, and I accepted and believed in Christianity when I was a youngin, and then thought about it for a little bit as I got older, and then decided I didn't think it was true anymore. It doesn't seem real to me. Bible only. You mean like, was I a Bible only Christian? I would say that's probably would be descriptive of, yeah, the denomination that I was in terms of like authority anyways. The idea was that only the Bible had ultimate authority. We didn't do like church fathers or priests or anything like that. No. Oliver says, do you think science can explain why the universe exists? Oh, thank you for the heart me. Who was that? Oh, Lexi, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Oliver says, do you think science can explain why the universe exists or only how it behaves once it exists? That's really not my field, but if I had to guess, I would say, I mean, it seems to me that science at the very least explains things about how the universe behaves or why it behaves certain ways. Why the universe exists. My understanding is that science doesn't explain any of that. At least I haven't heard a scientific explanation for why the universe exists as opposed to not. That seems to me more of a philosophical question, maybe. I don't know if we really have any answer to it coming from any angle. Lexi says, biblical Hebrew. No, not yet. I should. I don't know how to do that. Yeah, biblical Hebrew is my favorite. That's why I went to school to study Hebrew. I only did modern Hebrew because it was required for the program. And also because when you're studying biblical Hebrew, there's scholarship written in modern Hebrew about biblical Hebrew. So, it's good to know it. D. Hutchins 5 says, so you were on your way to heaven. Now you are heading to eternal hell. Was it a smart choice? Well, obviously, I don't think that's true. But if there's a good reason to believe that, I'm open to hearing it. Alexi says, how it exists, not why. Oh, your husband does the tech savvy stuff for you. Ah, got it. Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. I have a Samsung phone, and there's like a way you can go into it and figure out like what languages you want, and then when you're on the keyboard section, you just hit like the earth or like the circle looking thing with the stripes going through it, and then it just scrolls through your language. And I think I just have English, Greek, and Hebrew on my phone keyboard. Actually, I think I have those 3 languages on all of my computer keyboards and laptops. D. Hutchins 5 says, so then you never were a Christian. I mean, I think I was a Christian. If by Christian you mean somebody who believes that like Jesus is God and died for your sins. If you mean something else by Christian, maybe I wasn't that. Fall Part 3 says, so why do you believe God is not real? Well, I mean, the reason why is sort of going to depend on what kind of concept of God we're talking about. The reason I don't believe in the God concept that I grew up with is because I don't think the Bible is real. And the God that I believed in was, the God of the Bible. And it seems to me that when you read the Bible, there's lots of like untrue things in it. And so if I can't believe the Bible when it comes to statements that I am able to verify, then I shouldn't believe it when it makes statements that I'm not able to verify, right? Such as there's a immaterial mind that is responsible for creating the universe and all that kind of thing. But even more generally, the idea that there's an immaterial mind doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm not sure that even the concept refers to anything that could be true or false. And so, I would need to be persuaded that that was even a conceptual possibility. Foul Part 3 says, what about the concept of a higher power? Yeah, I would just need evidence that it was the case. Because again, like if you're talking about a higher power as an immaterial, atemporal person, which seems to be what most people mean by God, I don't understand what that concept even maps onto. But it looks like I got a guest in the guest box. Hello, Home Slice. Are you over the age of 18?
Hey. Yeah, I am.
Awesome. What's on your mind?
Have you ever heard of the Urantia book?
What is it called? Or how is it spelled, I guess?
I typed it in chat. Urantia.
Urantia book. No, I haven't. What is it?
So it's why I believe in evolution. And before I came across it says that abiogenesis did not happen. We're not able to find evidence for abiogenesis yet, and I don't think we ever will. But it does say, but I got to tell you, from an atheist standpoint, depending on, I don't know who you are, but what you're like, but before I came across this, I thought maybe they planted dinosaur bones. I thought maybe, I wasn't sure about evolution. Like that's the type of person I was. Okay. And this got me in the right track to finally start accepting the evidence about that. It also talks about Jesus. It's 2,000 pages long. It's so, I've read it 4 times. It's very, immediately you're going to Google it and say, oh, well, the internet says it's false. So, but you can add, that's what I did. But add it to your toolbox and say, okay, well, there's someone here. There's someone that believes in God that's here. That's not going to lie to you and say, oh, the Bible is inerrant and try to save face with that. You know what I mean? So the Bible's got some truth, and you're right about that. But God still exists. That's the situation that you're found yourself in. And a lot of people, their faith was in the Bible. They didn't know God. They actually didn't spend time meditating or trying to find God in reality. They had an idea about God from the Bible. And then whenever someone pointed out the fact that the Bible has errors, well, they became an atheist shortly after, because that was their God. The Bible was their God. They never found God in them. But, are you a former Christian?
Yeah.
Right. So that's the situation. I've got the advice. The advice is you got to give God time. You got to get up in the morning. You actually have to sit there and say, all right, well, I'm not sure if you're real, but I'm going to give you some. Can you give him a couple minutes? at least, and say, hey, and just do that for the rest of your life, and whether he shows up or not. If you think that he might be there, it's 2 minutes of your time. And the second thing is your motivation. It has to be purely spiritual growth, not like people I talk to that, well, I prayed that God would help us pay the bills that month. You don't want, your motivation can't be material things. I think Jesus said the kingdom of God is within, or seek you first the kingdom of God. All these things will be added unto you. And a lot of it, I'm not just going to assume that you weren't. I've been a lazy Christian too. I can be lazy spiritually also. And that's what I'm not going to grant that everyone that was former Christian was like super sincere, they ever sought God or found God. I'm not going to grant that. So not put shade on you, but yeah, I mean, that's what it is. It's a solemn thing. It's a very solemn message.
So how will I know that God is real?
So you're going to need to find God in you. You're going to need to have a spiritual experience. The best thing you're going to get is me telling you that I had a spiritual experience. And the second, you could look at the classical arguments. You can go to Grok. You can type in, what are the best arguments for God? Nobody in this on this platform is going to come up with something better than that AI demon. Well, that's just a joke. I call it the AI demon. But you're not going to come up with anything better than that. You're going to come up. You're just going to remember me. Hopefully, me being here will. Well, I'm a part of your subconscious now forever. And I told you about the Urantia book. I told you need to seek him, and hopefully God will bring that to your mind, and hopefully, or you'll think about me. I hope you think about me at night. You know, but no, I'm serious. I just want to help people, and I don't know how else to do it. I'm pleading with people that look. What makes me useful is that I'm not going to lie to you about the Bible. The Bible has glaring errors in it. You guys are right
Mm-hmm. You're cutting out for
about
me.
that. But God still exists. Now, who else is saying that?
Well, I mean, I think like
Your next
some
guest
people,
is going
some
to be
people say that. Some people
somebody
say
that
that
gets up
God
here.
exists.
Now,
Hey, you're cutting out pretty
damn it.
bad for me.
Yeah, but I bet the next. Can you hear me now? I'll just say one more thing. Can you hear me now? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah,
5.
yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
All right, real quick. I guarantee your next 10 guests are going to be people that come up here and try to insist that the Bible is perfect, and then when you show them objectively that it's not, they're going to double down and lie about it. That's what these people are
Yep, it
forcing you to be
happens.
intellectually dishonest, and I hope that I'm not doing that. But anyway, you take care, bud. It's breaking
All
up too
right.
bad.
Yeah.
It's breaking up too.
Hey, have a good night. Thank you for coming up and sharing your thoughts. Yeah, hey, you're welcome to come back anytime you want, Home Slice. I'm down. I'm down for a respectful comment. You didn't like that, Lexi? Sorry. I know. I wanted to engage, but unfortunately, he started cutting out right when I was trying to ask some questions and get some clarifications. Unfortunately, but he seems like somebody I would be able to have something of a productive conversation with in the future. So totally welcome to come back. All right, let's see if I missed any comments up here from anyone who's still hanging out. concept of a higher power. Oh, someone asked me about objective morals. I don't think they're still in here, but no, I don't believe in that, I don't think. He usually gets kicked as soon as he calls people lazy ex-Christians. That's fair. That's fair. Wow, we're doing pretty good, at least in terms of viewers now. That's all right. Thank you guys for double tapping the screen. Thanks for all the gifts, especially Lexi. I hope your guys' first day of the week has been pleasant. It has been for me. No small part due to the fact that I did not have to work today and will not have to work tomorrow. Will not have to work until the middle of next week, probably again. JL, yes. Sorry. Yes, I used to believe in God. I used to be a theist. Christian in particular. Christian only. Once I stopped being a Christian, I didn't really believe in any God concepts at all. So just from Christian to atheist. Or igtheist, if you would like. There's, I think a lot of God concepts are actually just incoherent and meaningless. But yeah, don't believe in God. Oh, okay. Yeah, agnostic, same deal. Yeah. I'm always curious about people who criticize like the whole idea of God talk, because I feel like there's a lot of different ways to get there. So always interesting to see what kinds of what kinds of problems with the God concept get people there, because there's different ways, I think. Shamster9 says, atheist since age 16. I'm 74. Never a minute of doubt, even before my 5 heart surgeries. Oh my goodness. No, good for you. Making it through your heart surgery is okay. When you say atheist since age 16, I assume you were some kind of theist prior to that. Welcome to share what that was if you feel up to it. I myself have only had 1 heart surgery, and it was a fairly routine heart surgery, just an ablation. So not too bad. I was actually awake for the whole procedure. Like, highly medicated, obviously, but awake. Why? Because of great doctors and nurses and science. I was raised Jewish. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. All good now? Yeah. I haven't had any heart problems since I got the procedure done. And in fact, speaking of great doctors and science and nurses, the surgery I'm recovering from now, is a hernia repair, and the recovery has just been absolutely incredible. Like, I was up walking around after the second day of the surgery. I had a little bit of pain, but like if I laid down, I was okay. I didn't take a single pain medication since I left the hospital. I did take so much as a Tylenol for pain. It was mind blowing because they do this. They go in through the stomach, and they have like this robotic. It's called like a robotic assisted laparoscopy, I think, and they like put this mesh after they sew you up. They put this like mesh on it on the inside. It's just incredible. But I've known people who have had like hernia repairs before this technology, and it's just like terrible, painful recovery. And so compared to what I was able to have is just like just amazing how far technology has come. And the one doctor was telling me about some doctor in Cleveland doing a robotic surgery for somebody in London. Like, he was literally in Cleveland, like controlling the stuff, and the guy was in a operating room in London, or I think it was London or somewhere on the other side of the pond. And yeah, mind blowing. That does scare me a little bit about like really good hackers causing problems. I'm sure they have like, really, 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 really good tech people on that, but I'm just worried we're going to hear about something going really bad in the news one of these days with that. Yeah, the rate the world is about to change is crazy to consider. It is. It is. The change in the world has just been exponential since I was a child. I mean, like I can sit in a restaurant and be like, I think I'm going to have this meal. I wonder what wine pairs with it. And then just take a picture of the menu, upload it to a chat bot, and it pulls all of its sources from the internet and then gives me a breakdown of, which wine or which beer is going to go good with my meal. Just like that. Crazy. Thank you for the upvotes, Lexi. I appreciate it. So JL, yeah, JL's still in here. JL, if you don't mind, what sect of Judaism were you raised in? Trying to get more peeps in here. I appreciate it, Lexi. I like to have interactions and conversations. Zero traffic. I got to talk with someone in person who was Hasidic. Oh, interesting. I don't know if I've ever. No, I don't think I've ever met a Hasidic Jew that I know of. JL, I wasn't that guy. I was raised by a non-denom preacher, Mennonite grandparents. Ah, interesting. Okay, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. That was the other guy who was in here that was Jewish. My bad. And he is not in here anymore. Mennonite. I had when I was studying Hebrew at university, I had a colleague who was Mennonite. Yeah, she was Mennonite. Her and her husband went to the same university with me. She was in the Hebrew program. He was in psychology, I think. Basic Evangelical Bible College, the same. Ah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say I personally got to learn a lot about Mennonite beliefs, though, because the girl, she would talk sometimes about what was Mennonite, but her belief system was also kind of eclectic, um, especially studying the Bible in the original languages. She had been developing a lot of her own thoughts. I remember something about like voting being kind of an issue, like they're not supposed to vote, um, like in government elections or whatever. She might have said something about there being a lot of like anti-vaccine and some other kind of like, I don't know, pseudoscientific ideas in her community. Oh yeah, your grandparents, they were largely disconnected from the community. Hmm. I think like some of them they like wear the head coverings, right? The girl I knew, she usually didn't wear a thing over her hair. Uh, it might have been once or twice I saw her wearing it, but by and large, not. Tanner, do you have morals? Um, I don't know. It depends on what you mean by that. What do you mean by morals? Do I know right from wrong? Um, I mean, I do what I feel like is the best thing to do in any situation, and I try not to do what's the worst thing in any situation, if that's what you mean by right and wrong. Um, if you mean something else, feel free to clarify. Jeffrey Dahmer did what he felt was best. Yeah. I assume everybody does what they feel is the best option for them in any given situation for the most part. Understand thinking someone has bad morals, but none seems nonsensical. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like morals are kind of a strange concept to me. I took a course on moral philosophy, just an intro to moral philosophy. So we didn't get into like meta ethics and that kind of stuff when I was at university. And hey, thanks for the double tapping the screen, Contra Deity. Good to see you. Yeah, so I took a course on moral philosophy, and yeah, I mean, it seemed like what all of the moral philosophers were doing were just trying to come up with a system that explained like why we feel like some things are the good thing to do and other things are the bad thing to do. Um, and it was only prescriptive to the extent that like you wanted to do the thing, right? Like as soon as the counterexample comes up of something that doesn't seem moral to you, you just rewrite the system. So like when people say they have morals, it's like you came up with a system that explains your behavior that's based on the intuitions that you already have. Like I don't know, maybe I'm like completely out of my mind, but like the entire linguistic framework of ethics and morality is just strange to me. I feel like I do what seems right to me, and sometimes that's pro-social. Sometimes, a lot of times it's for the benefits of other people. But describe me as anything other than how I feel like I should behave in any given situation. I just don't understand the value of the linguistic framework. Maybe I need to read more ethics. How do you know what is right and what is wrong? I mean, like, how do I define right and wrong? Again, like, I think I do what I think is the best thing for me in any given situation, what I feel like I should do. JL says, I don't want harm to come my way. I extend that to others in the most basic form. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an intuition that a lot of people have. It's good for community, and we like community, so it makes sense that we would do that. So if I think it's best to grape a woman, is it? I don't think it's best to do that. What you think is up to you. Yeah, that's a really wild thing to think. But okay. So why does what you think override what I think? Well, what I think determines how I behave, not how you behave. Jumping to that is crazy. I wasn't expecting that. I gotta be honest. I should have, but I wasn't. Contra Deity says, based on best pathways to reaching or maintaining goals. Hopefully the goal isn't harmful. Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people want to get along with others and not harm people. It makes us feel good to do good things for other people. I know it does for me. So how do we decide who is right? By force? I don't know what you mean, how we decide who is right. I decide who is right based on, reasoning through what I want the world to be like. And I think that's probably how most people do it. And yeah, some of that does come down to force. That's why people fight, right? That's why, if you see someone doing something to somebody else and you don't like it, you step in, right? That's using force. I think you should do that in some cases. Yeah, trying to play the moral linguistic framework is really confusing to me. We're social beings. We're negotiating what will punish. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like that's why societies have laws to enforce the what's perceived to be the right way forward. Contra Deity says, back in the way time, people didn't want to wear seatbelts or not drink and drive. Yeah. There's some places in the US where you still can consume an alcoholic beverage and drive, actually. But, you can like not have so much blood alcohol content or something like that, but you can actually pull up and order a drink and they'll open it, hand it right through your car door. One of my professors was from a state where that was allowed. Mississippi, it might have been. I think there's a couple states where they can do that. Limitations, yeah. I got a couple new followers during this stream. I keep forgetting to put, I have the little follower goal thing. I should do that. Put that on the screen to remind people to follow. JL says, sorry. Still digesting my dinner. Here's the most succinct way I assume that's Christian, or I can say what it seems we're all stuck with. Morals are subjectively formed, socially negotiated, then collectively enforced. Oh yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds definitely descriptive of what people call ethics and how they function. Release the demons? What's that about? Oh, the digest. Ah, yeah. Do I know who Darth Dawkins is? Yes, I do. He still follows me, I think. I haven't followed his new account. That's all right, Contra Deity. That's fair. When you're just responding in the comments, the thought train can sometimes move faster than you can type. I get it. He doesn't believe in time. Darth Dawkins doesn't believe in time. The privilege of being blocked by him twice. Yeah, he used to really like me. I don't know how much he likes me now, but yeah. What's his new account? It's just called, whichever one is Darth Dawkins with the most followers is probably going to be the one. Got you, Lexi. He's been incredibly patient with me, but I'm a little more tolerant of his, dialogue train than most other people, I think, on this app. I kind of let him run it and wait for him to invite me to speak before I talk and that kind of thing. He still crashed out on my live stream and he still kicked me off of his, but overall, I think he's a little more willing to, hear me out than most other people. Highly disagreeable and insufferable. Yes, that is an accurate statement. Well, I'm surprised for a Monday. This is going a little more. This is staying a little more active than most of my weekend streams have been. All right, we got a guest coming up. Mic drop. Gonna get a guest in here to have a little conversation. Hello, Mike. Are you over the age of 18?
Yep.
Awesome. What's on your mind?
Um, I guess why are you an atheist?
God doesn't seem real to me.
Is it just a feeling, or is that based on some sort of concrete evidence?
Yeah, I mean, it's based on considerations. So, for example, there's a lot of concepts of God that you have in religious traditions. Specifically, I grew up in Christianity and I believed in the God of the Bible. I don't think that idea of God makes any sense. But even more broadly, I think concepts of God in general, tend to, assert something like an immaterial, non-physical, and atemporal person that's in some way responsible for creating the world. I don't think that immaterial persons make any sense as a concept. I don't think that really refers to anything. So I just don't think it exists.
So you are a hard materialist, I'm assuming then?
I'm not sure exactly what hard materialism is.
So for you, your presupposition is that the only things that exist are things made up of matter.
No, I wouldn't say that. What I would say is I think that the only things that exist are things that can be referred to, or like that you can have a concept of. And I think that personhood and immateriality are conceptually incompatible. So it's the conceptual discrepancy that is more the reason why I reject God than just the idea that it's not material.
Yeah, I completely disagree with that. That's actually one of the reasons I do believe in God. Is because I know that when I pick up this coffee mug right next to me, it's not the bosons and fermions in my brain forcing me to do it. It's a experience of something supernatural beyond the physical body. My intentionality itself proves the existence of supernatural things.
So you believe that your experience is evidence of the supernatural, that you have.
My intentionality, my decision to move my hand or go for a walk, or it's impossible for me to somehow conclude that it's the carbon atoms in my brain forcing me to do these things.
Oh, why is that impossible?
Because carbon atoms are inanimate things that are made up of chemicals. Um, it's very intuitive and self-evident that physical matter is not the force behind me doing anything.
That's interesting. Not evident to me at all. But I mean, if it is the case that there's some supernatural reason why, like, you have intentions and engage in actions, like, why would that mean that there was a God?
Oh no, so yeah, I mean that's my initial step. So the belief in God or the knowledge about God's existence is not just a feeling that I just decided to feel about randomly. I mean it's a evidence based. It's based on preponderance of evidence. It's not just one thing. So the idea of when I see patterns in the universe, design, all the arguments for God, I mean, that prove that God exists, like the Kalam arguments, the argument from teleology, argument from morality. There are many. It's overwhelming. It's actually painfully obvious that God exists. Um, that's
Oh,
actually something that even I would say like philosophical hard atheists would not disagree with. It's just that they think that this God is not worthy of worship. That's their
no,
problem.
I disagree with. I don't think that most of those arguments are very good.
Oh, really? Can you? So, are you using logic as your starting principle, as a unproven um, kind of a brute fact? Do you accept logic to be true?
Um, I mean, I think of logic as being like a linguistic framework for making truth claims, in a sense. I don't
Is
know.
anything true out there? Like, do you believe anything is knowable out there or true out there? Like, what if you
I
if
mean,
you are not even sure
I
if logic leads to truth? Then what is the what are we debating here? What are we grounding our arguments on? Language on? You know, if
I mean,
everything is just skeptical.
yeah. I mean, I obviously I think there's facts of the matter, and it's intuitive to me that the best way to establish what's most likely to be the fact of the matter is to use a system of logic. So,
Right. Okay, so
yeah.
that's one agreement that we have, that we use logic to know something to be true. And obviously,
Mhm.
you're presupposing that truth exists about God. Either God exists or doesn't, right?
Yeah, yeah. I believe that it's either the case that God exists or
Yeah.
the case that God doesn't exist. That
That's
would
good
be, yeah.
because some atheists say that it's unknowable, or they say even if you give them infinite time, they wouldn't know. So within my lifetime, I will have to conclude that either God exists or doesn't. Otherwise, that truth proposition is a meaningless, um, just a meaningless proposition.
I don't think you have to conclude one way or the other. I mean, you could be agnostic. Like, I don't think that's a impossible position to hold. Hey, thanks for the heart me, Lexi. Or Contra Deity. That's right, Lexi already gave me her heart me.
Yeah, agnosticism is not really a honest position, I would say, because
What's
you are
dishonest?
the
Sorry.
dishonesty in agnosticism is that you are somehow presupposing that the truth about God is unknowable within your lifetime. Like if a truth proposition is unknowable within my lifetime, it's not a it's has nothing to do with truth. Like
Well,
it's just
I don't think agnosticism presupposes that. I think that's the conclusion of agnosticism, right? So, like, you can be a skeptical Gnostic, um, which would be someone who says, like, there's no good arguments for God and there's no really persuasive arguments against God, leaving the probability somewhere around 50-50. So I don't believe one way or the other. Then, of course, there's also cancellation agnostics who would say that there's really good arguments for God, but there's also really good arguments against it. Again, leaving the probability around 50-50. And so then they say that, again, I can't really know. So I don't think that's a presupposition. That's something they argue based on their analysis of the arguments, not the conclusion I come to. I think that the arguments for God are weaker than the ones against it. But yeah, I don't think agnosticism is a presupposition of that. I think it's an argument that concludes with that.
so for an agnostic, what is true? What is actually something they could say this is true? What is that? Is it empirical evidence? Is it based on logical evidence? I'm trying to like understand what they actually believe.
I mean,
Uh,
agnosticism, like generally speaking, without any other qualifiers, usually refers to beliefs about God or gods, not about anything else, right? So you can believe in all kinds of things are true or not true. It's just relative to the question of whether or not a God exists. An agnostic generally is going to be somewhere where they haven't made up their mind, or they think that it's not knowable in principle.
Okay. So I'm confused now. So is the truth about God knowable or unknowable?
I mean, I think in principle it's knowable.
Okay.
But I mean, that's also, we have to be careful, because I'm a bit skeptical of like knowledge theories. I prefer just to think about beliefs weaker and stronger. So I think, like, I would say we can have good reasons to believe that there is or isn't a God based on evidences. I wouldn't really like use knowledge terms.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think there's a true distinction between knowing something or believing something, because it all boils down to your first principles and your epistemology.
Awesome.
So yeah, so okay, so we agreed on the four laws of logic as a starting point. Do you believe that? Um, do you believe anything in the past is true?
Yeah, I think that the past,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, so you're not a hard empiricist.
Sorry, hang on
So
a
you,
second. There was an inactivity thing and it made me do a puzzle. I apologize.
yeah, so you're not a hard empiricist. So you're not one of those people that say, if God is not falsifiable, God does not exist.
Yeah, yeah, like I wouldn't say that there would have to be some kind of, I don't know, like synthetic proof that God did or didn't exist. But I do think like the concept of God does have to be knowable or comprehensible in principle in order for us to be able to actually meaningfully have a conversation about like, does God exist or not? And I think that there's, again, like a good argument that the whole concept of God is just like meaningless. And so the conclusion would be that like the statement God exists is just not a is not a true statement, not in light of some empirical observation we can make, but simply because it doesn't refer. It would have to, in order for a statement to be true or false, it has to refer like in a conceptually meaningful way to something.
I mean, can you explain when you say the concept of God is meaningless?
Right. So if I say, you know, if I were to say God is glubberfied, right, that would be meaningless because the word glubberfy isn't a word that refers, right? So it can't be true or false that God is glubberfied because there's no meaning to what's being said, right? Or if I say God big so, right? The syntax is problematic there, right? The sentence doesn't refer to anything, even though all of the parts of the sentence refer. Of course, there's also sentences where all of the terms work and the syntax works, but it still doesn't refer because of semantic conceptual relationships, right? So if I say physics sleeps slower than chemistry, it's like, okay, yeah, all of those words, we know what all of those terms mean. The syntax makes sense. We can even draw trivial inferences from it, right? We can infer that chemistry must sleep faster than physics, right? But again, the issue is the semantic conceptual relationships don't actually refer in such a way that we can, that we can say that it's true or false, right? There's nothing that would provide us one way or the other, and so we would just have to reject the statement on the grounds that it's meaningless. And so when someone talks about a person, right, in philosophy, there are just certain essential attributes of persons. They have thoughts, they have memories, they have feelings, right, and all of those things are temporal. And so when you talk about like an atemporal person, I think that, in the same way that the other sentences are meaningless, that's just a meaningless statement. You would say that there's a God, and by which you mean there's like an immaterial person that has like causal power in the physical realm. Yeah, I just don't think that has anything to do with the normal concepts of persons. I don't think it's compatible with it. And so I would say that that's just a meaningless sentence in the same way. And so it doesn't really have truth or false value, so we just reject it.
Okay. So the definition of God, I don't know what definition of God you're referring to, but the definition of God in classical theism is absolutely coherent, or at least for me. There's nothing incoherent about who God is. So when I use attributes like God is uncaused, do you have an objection with that attribute?
Um, I mean, I don't think I have an objection with the idea that a given thing can be uncaused. No.
Okay. God being God having maximum power and knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think there's any conceptual problem with maximum power or maximum knowledge.
Okay. God having will, being independent. So all of these attributes. I guess what attribute of God are you referring to? His personhood, in the sense that he cares about human beings? So the argument for that would be that the fact that God created human beings is enough to demonstrate that God cares about human beings and has that ability of personhood
Yeah, but I guess
that you think is incompatible. I'm not sure what the objection here is.
well, so I would say, I guess my first issue, if I understand classical theism correctly, there's an idea that God is absolutely simple and doesn't have parts, right? So like you can't predicate God, which is going to be a problem for all of the claims that a person wants to make about God, because presumably those are attributes, varying attributes of an absolutely simple thing. But beyond that, my understanding is that, like, once again, like, God is supposed to be immaterial, right? And so to talk about a person or an entity that isn't material, right, like nowhere in space, I don't think that that's just cogent as a concept. I think that violates the entire semantic of personhood, right? Persons are entity. Sorry.
Yeah, but I would disagree with that. Like, you're somehow assuming that personhood requires a physical body. But it's not something that's self-evident. A person philosophically is typically understood as something that's conscious, possesses intellect, will, intentionality, and self-awareness. Whereas none of these logically require a matter. Why must consciousness or personhood be material? Like, I guess the onus is on you to prove that.
Right. No. So the issue with personhood. So yeah, my issue is that more. I guess I might have misstated, confused two things. Right. So my issue with personhood has to do with atemporality. My issue with immateriality has to do with interaction with the physical. Right. So like if God is immaterial and non-physical, right, his ability to act in the physical realm doesn't make sense to me. That seems to me the priority of physical things, right? Physical cause is related to things that are physical, not things that are immaterial, right?
Yeah, but that objection assumes that only physical things can causally interact with physical things. But that itself is philosophical assumption, not a proven scientific fact. I mean, there's many atheists out there who are idealists. They believe that it's consciousness before matter. Science, all science is doing is just describing regularities within the physical world. It does not prove that non-physical causation is impossible.
Right, but I guess like I just don't have a concept of it, right? Like the words, right? Like I know what physical and non-physical is, I know what causation is, but my only concept of causation is physical, right? And so it just seems to me not like, and like just to be clear, like I also have a concept of like, to me an immaterial thing is something like, a concept or logic, right? We were talking about like immaterial things, right? Those things don't cause in the physical, at least in like the way that I understand
So,
ontology. So yeah.
so for example, if I asked you, like behind you, you've got a few books. If you pick up one of the books and just slam it on the floor, um, what uh, where is the um, causal link to only physical things? Like that that cause of your book getting slammed on the floor is not purely based on physical causation. There's thoughts involved, there's intentions involved, there's consciousness involved, and there's a free will involved. All of them are non-physical things.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I guess like for me, it seems to be explicable on a physical account of non-physical things, right? Because like I think that it's entirely possible that concepts and immaterial stuff of that sort can arise from the physical, which again I know like that's an intuition that you don't hold, but to me that seems to be perfectly fine. But to say that something that's entirely non-physical, right? It's like a thought itself, absent a body, still wouldn't be able to do that in the way that I understand physical cause and effect.
Mm, okay. All right, man. I actually have to head out, but it was nice
Okay.
talking to you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Take
this
care.
was a wonderful conversation. Welcome back anytime, Mike. All right. Wow, we still got people hanging out late on a Monday night. All right, I'll go through, try to read some of your guys' comments. Contradeity says it's like the concepts don't, but the actions perpetuated by those concepts can. Yeah. Change is generally measurable. Yeah. Good convo there. I agree, JL. That was a nice conversation. Oh, yeah. Contraditi says if applying logic to concepts of certain gods, there are ways to determine whether or not they exist. That's true. There are definitely god ideas that are very much falsifiable, like the biblical idea that God dwells on the dome of the sky, right? We can determine scientifically very much that God is not out there. Mm-hmm. I did have another person in the guest box earlier, but they dropped out before that guest left, so. Well, you all must not have to get up too early in the morning. That's good. I have been. I mean, I'm not working right now because of my surgery recovery, but I have been working afternoons, which has been really nice. I like having my mornings actually. But yeah, I'm surprised. See, the weekend before last, a night shifter. Okay, yes, yes. Weekend before last, I went live Friday. Did I go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Or was it Thursday, Friday, Saturday? Something like that. But a couple nights, I only got like one guest. And then there was another. Oh, I got someone in the guest box now, but never two guests. Looks like I got three this time. Hello, Ethan. Are you over the age of 18?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. What's on your mind?
I appreciate you posing the question because it seems genuine, and I just want to know, where do you get your concept of morality from? Where do you get the idea that murder is wrong, or rape is wrong, or stealing is wrong, or lying is wrong? Where do you get that from?
Yeah, I mean, as best I can tell, just like as a social creature, raised with certain, norms and ideas about how I should behave, it's just come to my senses that those are things to be avoided. It
Where
doesn't
did
make.
those norms come from? What made those norms? They're not the norms everywhere in the world.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But honestly, so like I thought you were wanting me to give an account of like me personally, where they came from
Yeah, I
in
do
my
want you
life.
personally to tell me where they come from in your life, and where you
Yeah,
think those ideas come from.
right. So I mean, it seems like we're pushing the question back a little bit now to like where the society ultimately gets them. I imagine it's a large and long process of trial and error, and people, I'm sure, have some like biological intuitions about these things as well. Um, for
Well, everything
example,
biological goes against any morality that we appear to in Western society. That's proven biologically, scientifically. Like, there's nothing morality that we accept in Western Hemisphere that is biological. In fact, it's counter biological. It's counter
well,
naturalism,
I don't know. I think there's probably some things, right? Like,
such as
yeah. So if I protect a family member from being harmed, that family member shares a lot of my genetic material. So just in strictly Darwinian terms, that's going to be a good thing,
sure.
right? And also in moral terms, right? As a brother or a husband or whatever, I have responsibilities to people in my life, and we would say those are moral things as well. So I think there is some overlap.
No, you want to say those moral things, protecting your brother who's a rapist or a PDF file or anything like that. That's not a moral thing because it's biological. Those are separate things. But where do you get your morality? Where do you get I should protect my brother because he's my brother. I should protect my brother because, he's a person in my family. That's a separate argument from biologically defending your bloodline.
Yeah, so I want to be clear. It's like the overlap, I think, has to do with like the origins of these intuitions. Obviously, like there are cultural specifications on them. Um, and so, yeah, like I said, it's a combination, I think, of them. So what we do, I think there's a philosopher named Peter Singer, I think, that kind of developed some of this idea where, right, you have like an immediate circle of people that you have empathy for, right? And even within your genetic group, you are going to outgroup some people, right? And for practical reasons that are going to be interpreted as being moral. But then, like, what happens is you can expand that circle, right? So once we've evolved the intuition of being empathetic to people, we can also in-group people who might be more distantly related to us, and there can actually be evolutionary advantages to that as well. But
Well, I
yeah, I
mean,
think
there's no scientific study or any argument that says against outside of your biological circle where empathy is actually applied. Like, why is it moral? We're using the term moral, so I want to know, why is it moral to protect somebody outside of your biological bloodline? Why is it empathetic? Where does empathy come from outside of having empathy of your immediate bloodline?
Yeah. So
Where does the idea come from?
yeah, well, I'll be, I do want to caveat here, because this isn't a field that I'm like trained in, very well or anything like that. So I'm just, kind of shooting,
No, this is just
from the hip.
spitballing
But
here. I just
yeah.
poking and prodding.
That being said, there is a biologist named David Sloan Wilson, who has done some work attempting to demonstrate like the biological.
What does David Wilson say about it?
Yeah. So my understanding is, his argument is that there is a evolutionary advantage of basically in grouping those who aren't, biological, just because of the advantage of the reciprocation. And so you can expand your group faster and, gain some
Does
advantages.
David Wilson argue that there is, you're saying he makes the point that there's a biological advantage. Does David Wilson argue that we biologically developed to do so?
Yeah, I think he does. And he attempts to draw some examples from some different species, and I mean,
I'd be curious to hit that. Well, I would argue against David Wilson. There's a plethora of arguments against the fact that, left to their own devices, human beings are quite cruel, quite ravenous, and primitive in the way that every other creature on the planet acts in their own self-interest. We can go down the line, but even Freud and Darwin argue against how simplistic and how self-involved we are as monetary beings in our own self-interest.
Yeah, no, I mean,
it's true. And it's been proven throughout time. There's no debate amongst the fact that we will act in our own self-interest if left to our own devices, with no morality involved, with no social hierarchy implied. But the reason I bring all this up is to say, to be an atheist, you have a lot more faith than any religious person I've ever met. There is no the faith.
What do you mean by faith?
The faith that there is no creator in this. In fact, if you go and ask Chet GPT right now, is it more or less likely that there's a design and a creator for all this? They're going to tell you, like, nope, it's far more likely that we either live in a matrix, which requires an architect and an actual designer, or that there is a God. Both of those are more likely than there being no God. Atheist is saying there's no God. If you're an agnostic, then you might believe that there's a God, but you're not sure which one really does exist. But to be an atheist requires such an incomprehensible level of faith that there is no creative designer to this whole thing, that Chat GPT, AI, the scientific community can't even put on paper to make sense.
Yeah, I mean, so what do you mean by faith exactly?
Faith in that, without proof, without the data to prove it, you are going on a leap of faith. You're going on a self-belief, a
no, I don't think so.
Non-proven, non-entheotic theory of creation or of design. So you think that all of this happened? What's his name? The great comedian does the Batman things. Like I don't know, but he made the point that, you know what, the religious people have their point, and the non-religious people make fun of the religious people, and that nothing created everything. You know what happens when you die? Nothing. What created everything? Nothing. Well, we'd all agree that if your nothing created everything spontaneously, that's a pretty magical nothing.
I mean, I don't
Like,
I don't really know what any of this has to do with God. I mean, I could.
what does atheism have to do with God?
Well, I mean,
You're
I don't
confused
understand.
about that?
No, that like all of these statements you're making about like probability. I don't understand. Like, what is?
I didn't make any. Yeah. So the idea of probability is that atheism proposes that the probability of everything coming of existence by nothing is their argument, whereas the people who believe in a God believe in the probability of something, a designer, creating everything.
So I just don't agree with that. I don't think atheism is a claim about where everything came from.
So do we
Atheism,
disagree on what atheism is? What is atheism to you?
the belief that there's no God or gods.
Okay, so that's exactly what I've stated, is that atheists believe that
There's
there's
not a
no
single-
God or designer.
There's not a single
no-
belief about how the universe came into being among atheists. I mean, the only thing
There
that's
is,
ruled
it's
out
that
on
it
atheism
came
is that it
from
couldn't be by
nothing.
God. That's
To be an atheist, you're saying that you believe that all of this happened by chance, by no design, by no predetermined plan. Like none of this, all of this exists purely out of chance.
I mean,
Right?
I mean, I could be an atheist and believe that there's a machine that created everything.
Well, you would have to believe that something created a machine to create everything, right?
Why would I have to believe that?
You believe the machine existed before anything could create the machine?
I mean, can you believe that a God existed before anything created the God?
Absolutely. Well, that's the premonition here, is that yes, a God could only create the machine that can create everything, or that the God exists to create creation, right? Somebody who creates a computer isn't running around inside the computer and defined by the parameters of the computer.
What explains
Changing
the
the numbers
God?
and the zeros and the ones on the screen. The creator of the computer doesn't do that. Right? There has to be a creator that exists outside the parameters of what we know as existence to create existence in itself.
Like I don't know what all of that is about, but I mean we're just talking about what's entailed by atheism, and I'm saying that
That's exactly what's entailed by atheism, is that you
No,
think
it's-
there's no God, there's no creator. Like there's a machine that somehow exists without a creator
To be-
creating that. Like,
well, I mean, believing in a conscious being, right, that is responsible for creating everything seems to me every bit just as improbable as believing that there's a non-conscious machine responsible for creating everything, right? In the same way that you wouldn't have to give an account for that being, you would just say it exists necessarily, and it accounts for the
So,
design.
I think
You would
where
just-
we actually are falling apart, where we actually disagree, is what a God institutes. What does a God imply?
A person.
So we clearly disagree on that. Yeah, I do not think a God is a person. I think God, the God, only God, is a being separate of our physical realm, separate of our understanding of where physics and everything apply. I think the one God is able to exist outside of what we understand in the physical realm. And I think that's where we actually are misunderstanding each other.
So you don't have a concept of this thing.
No, and I don't proclaim to, and I don't
Oh.
think that anybody does. Like, no.
Well, see, I think maybe we agree on this, but my issue is I can't affirm a proposition that I don't have a concept of. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I love this. John 1. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word is what actually proclaimed existence, and God is the Word. When he says, I am, tell them I am that I am. God is existence. God is everything. I think that's where it comes into alignment for me.
God is everything.
God is existence. God is the Word. To speak and to to comprehend is
So
God.
why are we talking in terms of God then? Why don't we just talk in terms of existences and words?
You and I could, had that not been the truth, had that not been the originality. Sure, if somebody and something didn't exist and somehow words came to be and existence came to be without that, then sure, we could have that conversation. But it had to be made by somebody. It had to be
By a person?
not a person. No,
A somebody
We-
isn't a person.
we were made in His image, and therefore we are the physical
His?
manifestation. Existence is the physical manifestation of God. God exists beyond the parameters of the physical world that you are trying to consolidate everything to. Again, somebody who
Wait.
created
So
a
how do
computer
you know it's not a
isn't
machine?
running around in the computer changing the ones and zeros on your screen.
Wait,
They're not beholden to the parameters of your computer, the person who invented the computer. Right? They're
So
not.
if you,
They're not
if,
in there
how do you
doing
know?
it.
How do you
They're
know God?
outside of it.
How do you know the creator isn't a machine then? If it's not a person,
Oh, he
and
may
you
very
have
well be. However, that machine had to be created by something originally. It couldn't have come into existence purely out of chance. You know, how did your vehicle
wait. So
come into
where did God come from?
God was?
That's not an informative answer.
I think it is. Yep, God is and God was. God is. That's it's a lot more comprehensive than everything coming into existence randomly. If you put it into your chat GPT right now, what are the chances of your Ford Mustang coming into existence? These random metal parts, these random computers coming into existence all together just to create this Ford Mustang that you have, or your kitchen table. You know, make it simple. Make your kitchen table for all of existence just to randomly create your kitchen table. What are the chances of that happening? All the atoms, everything flying around in the universe, just to randomly create your kitchen table.
All right. So I got a question for you then.
Yeah.
Going back to the example of the Mustang here, Mustangs are usually created on an assembly line, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Different people doing different jobs.
Yep.
So, would you say that you're a polytheist?
No.
Well, I mean, wouldn't the analogy commit
The
you to
analogy I
believing
brought
that?
was that the odds of existence and just random atoms and everything flying around to create your Mustang.
But I mean, what are the chances that one person
0
creates a
to
Mustang?
100
I mean, think about it.
trillion.
I mean, there's lots of Mustangs, right? Certainly, I mean, somebody can build a Mustang all by
Yeah, but just
themselves.
use
But
one.
for the most part,
If you want to use the example of multiples, that's even worse. But if you want to just say just one Mustang, one car,
But you know, when you
one
have an
vehicle, pick any vehicle.
when you have an assembly line and a specific instruction for a whole bunch of people working together, you get very consistent results, right? You have quality
Correct.
checks, you have all of these great things, right? So
Correct.
it seems to me that the analogy from human creation points toward polytheism better than it points toward
I
monotheism.
feel like you just walked yourself into my example without realizing it. Yeah, no. To create the Mustang, you have to have multiple pieces of metal that has to be derived and excavated from the earth, that has to come into existence before people can excavate it, that has to be assembled, that has to be manipulated, that has to be construed so that there could possibly ever be an assembly line for multiple people to ever put this design together in a very constructed, very laid out design for somebody to assemble. I feel like you're
in
making my argument
at
for
different
me.
factories, right? All
Yeah.
these different parts are built
Yes.
at different factories
The
by
chances
groups
of
of
all that
people.
happening
You have quality
randomly
checks.
are
You have
0.
supervisors, right? You have
Exactly.
you have the people who are shipping the parts, right? You have all of these.
What are the chances of that happening?
What are the chances that
randomly
one
by
person?
itself?
What are the chances that one person, one being, would do that all by themselves? Right. This is very clearly a group effort. Right. Something as intricate and as perfect as our universe has to have been designed by
You could say
a pantheon.
it was all Henry Ford that
we have
actually
to be
designed it.
polytheists.
Well, you could say Henry Ford designed that plan and designed that assembly line and designed the possibility for these multiple peoples to create this one thing. You could say one person did that, right?
Yeah, but one person can't build the car. One person can't make the universe.
We're going about the design. Who created the design? Who made this possible? Henry Ford made all that possible for multiple people to put one car together.
Well, I mean, he didn't design it entirely by himself, right? He used work
Sure,
and
no,
design
he was the
from
one
people
man who
before
put the plan
him.
together for
right?
multiple people to do it.
But I mean, so many
Who created
people are
the assembly line? Who created the assembly line?
Henry Ford.
Correct. So one person created the plan for multiple people to put this thing together, right?
But he certainly didn't
No.
build the assembly line by himself.
Nobody's arguing that. But for that plan to have been put into action, it wasn't like all these people came together and said, you know what, this is how we're going to do it. No, one person put that plan in design and said, you know what, hey, we're all going to collectively do this under this one plan that somebody's laid out for us, for multiple people under that person that laid all this out for us. Cool.
I don't see any reason.
For all of that to happen randomly is absurd, correct?
Well, I don't. I mean, I'm just kind of playing with your analogy right now, and
keep playing with it.
What I'm trying to demonstrate.
All that happen randomly.
What I'm trying to demonstrate is that your argument, your design, I don't agree with it.
You're trying to demonstrate it, but you're not arguing against my point here. You can say that
what I'm trying to show you is
that
you need to offer a symmetry breaker between monotheism and polytheism if you're going to go with the design argument. Oh, wow. It sounded so defeated. At least he was another nice one. He's welcome to come back too if he wants. Oh, do I have someone else in the guest box? Hi, Tanner. You over the age of 18?
Yeah.
Awesome. What's on your mind?
I was just wondering why you kicked that last guest.
I didn't kick him.
Okay, so do you have morality?
What do you mean by morality?
Do you know what's right from wrong?
I guess that depends on what you mean by right and wrong. Could you give me just a brief?
Yeah, good from evil.
Yeah, I think I do.
How do you know? How do you know what's right and what's wrong?
I have beliefs about what's right and wrong. Like I told one of the other guests, I don't tend to use knowledge language, more just beliefs, stronger and weaker. Yeah. Do you mean like
So is morality objective or subjective?
I suppose subjective if it comes down to beliefs.
So it's up for interpretation.
Sorry, you cut out for me. What did you
I
ask?
said, so is it up for interpretation?
Yeah, it seems to be. In debate and yeah.
So a 60-year-old dating a 10-year-old it's up for interpretation? Depending on who you ask, it's okay?
It seems to be. I've heard people make arguments both ways. So, yeah.
What's the argument you've heard that it's okay, that you think is intelligent?
No, I never said I think it. Hey, thank you for the heart, me, Rob. I mean, whether an argument is intelligent or not, I never said that. I just said that there's arguments both ways. I don't argue for that.
I'm sure there are, but are they based in reality? Should we listen to those arguments?
I don't accept those arguments.
Why?
They don't conform to my subjective intuitions.
So the world should operate around your subjective intuitions?
Yeah, mine does.
No, I'm talking about the world. World doesn't revolve around you, right?
No. I mean, when I do something right or do something wrong, it's from my perspective. What I think is the thing I should or shouldn't do. That's all I have control over. I can try to convince someone not to do something
how do
that
you
doesn't
think
conform.
the world should? What moral code should the world operate by?
I don't have a rigorously developed moral code, but I think what the world does is people just negotiate and debate and try to figure out for society what kind of moral rules they want to enforce and encourage and teach to the next generations, and that's just what it is.
Yeah, so in the 1800s, slavery was enforced. Was that okay?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't like that.
Why?
It just seems to me that owning another person as property is unnecessary, and it is not dignifying for the person being owned, especially if they're like an adult.
Well, it seems to me that it's justified.
Oh, you think that slavery is justified? What's the justification in your mind?
Cheap labor, get things done more efficiently.
Oh, at the expense of the somebody's dignity of not having autonomy and being owned.
Yeah.
Oh,
If I can control and assert force over that person for cheap labor and to get things done efficiently and quickly, then why would I not? Why would I not do that?
I mean, if you had moral intuitions like I do that compete with those advantages that you see, then you would not.
I don't have those though. I just have force.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So how is what I'm doing not okay?
I don't like it, and I already explained why.
But I do like it. See, so my like triumphs your not like.
It triumphs it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do like it. So it doesn't matter that you don't like it.
It might not matter to you.
And it doesn't matter that the person being enslaved doesn't like it, because I can enforce it.
Can you? Do you live in the United States?
Yeah, I do.
Interesting. I don't know why you went back in time to tell me that slavery was okay if it's okay now.
So as long as I can enforce it, who can say otherwise?
Anybody can. Everyone can.
But what can they do about it?
Well, I don't know. Depends on what their situation is.
The slave.
What can the slave do?
Yeah, what can they do about it?
I don't know. Slaves have responded to being in that situation in different ways throughout history. Sometimes they find a way to escape. Sometimes they harm the person that owns them. Sometimes they just, go about their life as it is. Any more questions?
So nothing? They can't do anything about it?
I didn't say nothing. I just gave you like 3 different things they can do.
My Christian ethics override their feelings about being enslaved. How do you feel about that? From your atheistic worldview, where you don't have any objective morality.
I don't like it very much. Having objective morality wouldn't really change the situation, now would it?
No, see why it's wrong to be an atheist?
No, I don't. What was the argument that it's wrong to be an atheist?
Society. You said society enforces morality.
And that means atheism is wrong. Why?
Because we'll just enforce whatever we can as a society.
Is that what we do?
Yeah.
Oh, sounds like atheism is true then.
So slavery was morally justified in the 1800s?
I didn't say that. Any more questions?
You just said that society enforces morality. Did you not?
Yeah, you did too.
So you can't answer?
Can't answer. I said yes, society enforces morality, and you agreed to that.
Yeah, and I said in the 1800s, society enforced slavery. So was slavery okay in the 1800s?
I mean, I don't like that it happened. If you're asking about my, what I think is good and bad, no, I don't think that was good. Obviously, some people back then thought it was good. Other people didn't. I don't know what this proves. Again, we both agreed that society is the thing that enforces morality. It doesn't have anything.
So how do we decide what's right?
How do we decide what's right?
Yeah, how do we come to a conclusion?
I mean, we can reason about it. We can decide what kind of society we want to live in. I think a lot of people go, at least in part off of intuitions from their upbringing, but certainly people change their minds about this sort of thing, through education and, contemplation.
Okay, so that still doesn't really answer anything.
Yeah, I think you made the claim that you had demonstrated atheism was false, and I haven't heard the argument yet for that.
I'm just wondering where you get your morality from. What is it grounded in?
By grounded, you mean like what accounts for it?
Yeah, what is it based in? Where does it derive from?
What explains
How do
it?
you know it's true?
Wait, how do I know it's true? That's a bit of a different question than grounding.
How do you know it's true?
Well, I mean, it's subjective, so it seems to be kind of true necessarily, right? Like if I like the flavor of something, my preference for it is itself the explanation for why I like it, right? Or for how I know that I like it, right?
So if I like to own a person, that means it's okay to do.
That means that it's your preference, but that has nothing to do with my morality. I don't like that.
So why does your morality override mine?
Because I'm me, so my morality is obviously going to override how I think through moral questions, and yours is going to determine how you think through moral questions. You, for example, think that slavery is moral. You think that the benefits outweigh the cost of human dignity, and that's your thought. Hopefully someone can change your mind at some point. I don't believe
that humans have dignity. How do you know that they have dignity?
That's also my intuition.
Mine says that they don't have dignity. My intuition says that. How do you know that they have dignity?
That's something that's granted to people.
From who? Who grants it?
Me.
You grant humans their dignity?
Well, I mean, everyone individually can grant dignity. Obviously, there are humans that don't grant people dignity. So to say that dignity is like intrinsic in some way would be nonsensical, right? Because, there's obviously people like you who don't.
So you grant humans their dignity.
Yeah, everyone who
Why?
like why and what's like what is my reasoning behind that?
Yeah, why would you give another human being dignity?
It feels right to me.
Okay, well, rape and murder feel right to me.
That doesn't surprise me at this point in our conversation. Is that supposed to be a counter
Can you
argument?
refute my feelings?
How could I refute your feelings?
Can you refute why they're wrong?
No.
So why would I operate from your worldview?
I didn't ask you to. I mean, I would prefer that you did, for sure.
I prefer that I didn't.
I understand that, but I would prefer that you did because, I do grant people dignity.
So why should anyone listening to you operate from your worldview? Why should they hold the same beliefs as you?
No, I don't know what you mean. Why should they?
Why should we be atheists if this is how you operate?
I don't know. I feel like a lot
Not
of
based in any reality.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think, share my intuitions about slavery and murder and all such things. So,
But
I
you
think
can't
that would be
objectively
a
say
good
why those things are wrong.
objectively say. What does that even mean?
With an absolute fact, with no doubt, you can't say that those things are wrong and evil to do as an atheist.
I mean, I can say that they're absolutely wrong in the sense that I absolutely don't like them.
So your personal preference is what guides your morality and how you live your life, how you feel.
I feel like we've been around this enough times that you know what my perspective is on this. And
so every human should just act how they feel. That should guide their actions.
Is that not what humans do?
That's what some do. Some choose discipline and doing what feels not correct or what's hard.
But I mean, if you choose discipline and choose what's hard, it's still because you feel that ultimately it's correct, right? You feel like
That's because you feel that it's the right decision to make, not because it's what you want to do.
But it is what you want to do.
Right, but if I want to eat tortillas and hot Cheetos, but I know that it's better to eat eggs and shrimp, but I eat eggs because it's going to make me healthier, does that mean that eating tortillas is the right thing to do?
No, I mean, being healthy is a desire that you have. You can have competing desires and then choose the one that is, strongest, right?
Right, but people still choose the one that's harder and the better one for the person.
They do. But I mean, I guess, so here's the question. What does saying that your perspective on how people should behave or be moral, what does that change about our situation, right? Because you're saying, well, people disagree about morals. Of course they do. Whether I say they're objective or subjective, whether I say they come from God or they come from my mind or my limited perspective, wherever they come from, people disagree on them. So I don't understand why people having different intuitions about morals has anything to do with atheism being false.
Because as an atheist, you can't say what's wrong or right. You just have your preferences.
I just can't add the word objective to the statement. That's the only difference.
All you have is, I prefer this instead of that.
Yeah. I think that is all we have. And like, so what?
And for my worldview, we have objective truths and objective morals that people should live by.
Yeah, like owning slaves. I got it.
But you can't say that that's wrong. You're an atheist. Okay. How do you know that's wrong?
I already told you.
No, you said that I don't like that.
So there you go. You were listening. Yep.
That's not entailing of how it's wrong. That's just saying your preference.
Yet that is how I know it.
You know it because you feel it.
Yes. And because of all the intuitions that I thought through that I mentioned to you about my feelings around human dignity.
The ones that I said that didn't exist, and that humans have no dignity,
Yes. Yes.
and that I should own people because I can assert force over them,
Yep.
and that you couldn't debunk from your atheistic worldview.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you didn't debunk my moral intuitions because you can't, because they're all our own private intuitions.
Can you debunk mine?
No. I mean, I can make an
So why
argument.
should I listen to you?
I
Why
never
should
asked
anyone
you
listen
to
to you?
listen. I never asked you to listen to me
Why should anyone become an atheist?
because there isn't good evidence for God.
There's none for atheism.
I mean, there's evidence against the existence of God, so that would be evidence for atheism.
Okay, so how did the universe start? Where did it come from?
I don't know.
That's a great argument.
I mean, where the universe come from isn't proof one way of whether or not there's a God. And I'm not presenting an argument. You just asked me a question.
So then what created the universe? If it wasn't God, what was it that created the universe and everything that exists?
I'd already told you I don't know what
We
created.
don't know.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that God did it.
How did you rule out God then if you don't know? How did you rule out God?
Do you want an argument against the existence of God?
No, you said that you don't believe it's God, so how did you rule out God if you don't know?
Well, I think there is not good evidence that God exists. I think that there are better arguments that God does not exist. And so if I accept the arguments that God doesn't exist, then obviously that would be a good reason to not believe that God exists and did something like creating the universe.
But you still don't have a hypothesis for how the universe came to exist in the first place?
No. Do I need one?
Yes.
Why?
Because as an atheist, you say that God does not exist. So what is your alternative?
That God doesn't exist?
How do you know that? How did you conclude that?
I don't think the idea of God makes any sense. Yeah, I think you know that because you've been in this. I think you've been in this chat for long enough that you know pretty much what my objection is, right?
No.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any sense to talk about an immaterial, atemporal person having causal efficacy in the physical world. I don't think that concept can be made coherent.
Okay, how do you define God?
As an immaterial, usually atemporal, although some would just say eternal person that is in some way responsible for the existence of the universe.
Okay, and if you rule that out, then what is your alternative?
I don't know. There could be any number of alternatives. Why would I need an alternative?
Then how are you an atheist? Why are you not agnostic?
You know, again, like if the concept of God, it doesn't make sense to me, then I'm an atheist because I don't believe that exists. Just because I can't account for why the universe exists has nothing to do with my atheism. And even if I was a theist, I wouldn't be able to give an account for why God exists as opposed to doesn't exist, right? That would just push the can down the road. At some point, you're just going to have to accept that things exist.
Yeah, as a theist, though, I have a reason for why they exist. As an atheist, you don't have a reason.
You have a reason for why God exists,
I have a reason for why the universe exists.
right? But your explanation still grounds out somewhere.
A God.
Right, but you still, do you have an account for why God exists, or why, like, the universe would be entailed by God existing? Couldn't God exist and not create a universe?
No, because he's all powerful. He's the ground of all being.
Mm.
That's the definition of God.
So God requires no explanation.
Yes, that's what God is.
I mean,
He's the ultimate creator.
so you at bottom, you have to assert that the ultimate account for the universe grounds out in something which has no further grounding, right? But in doing that, you have to assert the existence of a God, some kind of immaterial, atemporal, or eternal person, which again, I think is conceptually incoherent. Whereas I can forego all of the baggage that comes along with those concepts and the incoherencies and just ground out if the universe is necessary. Why would I prefer a explanation that explains nothing more than what my explanation would have and entails a bunch of conceptual incoherences?
Because your explanation doesn't provide an explanation.
But neither does yours.
You can't account for morality. You can't account for anything else.
I accounted for morality.
No, you gave your preferences. You said, I don't like this, so therefore it's wrong.
But I just think that that's what morality is. You might not like that perspective on ethics and human behavior, but I don't.
And then I questioned you on it, and you couldn't answer anything.
Well, then, as far as I could tell, you agreed with most of my perspective on morality in terms of society enforcing it and such. So, I guess what would your account of morality be?
God.
Oh, what accounts for God's morality?
The Bible.
So God got his morality from the Bible?
No, God described his morality in the Bible.
Oh, like, what grounds his morality? What explains it?
Him.
Oh. So just his preferences?
Yeah, he's God. He's the ultimate authority. He's the creator.
So again, I'm in a position of just accepting that my perspective is.
So why would you, as a
or
mortal sentient being, why would you override the creator's morality?
Obviously, if I believed there was a creator, I wouldn't override his morality, very most likely. But I just don't think I have a good reason to think that there is one. Well, anyways, overall, I think this has been a reasonably nice conversation. You are welcome to come back, Tanner, at some point. It's midnight for me. It might be late for you too, but I really want to get to bed. So I'm going to let you go. But thanks for coming up, all right? All right. Well, guys, thank you all for hanging out. All four of you who are still here. This was a surprisingly busy night for a Monday. I guess the restart did it for us. Well, I'm going to go to bed and get some sleep, and I will hopefully be streaming soon. Again, I'm still recovering from my surgery for the next week and a half, so you'll probably see me around on TikTok. Have a good night, friends.